Aloha and welcome to today's Maunalua Past, Present, and Future. Today we're going to be discussing the Kokonut Coalition and Koko Crater Trail, or Koholepe Lepe. I have with me today Drew.
Hi.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh, sure. I'm Drew Murphy. I was born and raised here in Hawaii. I'm an Aina boy, and I am the president of the Kokonut Coalition, and I hike it regularly, probably about 4 times a week, and multiple trips up and down.
And Bethany.
Aloha. My name is Bethany Lee, and I reside in Mariners Cove in Hawaii Kai. And we're recent transplants here. We moved here 2 years ago. And I'm an avid hiker of the Koko Crater Trail. And I hike it probably once a day, if not more frequently. And I'm just a board member on the Kokonut Coalition.
Great, thank you. So we wanted to take a look at the sunrise shot that we have from a few days ago, correct?
Correct. This is from 25 September.
It's really beautiful.
Yep. So, yes, this was taken on 25 September, and this was just one of those breathtaking sunrises that we experienced. And it just reminded me of a Van Gogh painting. But this is one of the reasons why I love hiking Koko Crater Trail.
Well, that's a good segue into how you got involved with the trail and what you folks are planning to do. Can you give us some information on that?
Well, we all have different stories, all the various regular hikers of the Koko Crater Trail. I hike it to stay in shape. It is a vigorous climb. I'm a long-distance hiker. I hike long trails like the Pacific Crest Trail and such. And I use this trail to keep in shape when I'm not hiking on the long trails. And aside from the fact that it's exercise, it is always a wonderful thing to do. I start the morning with this trail. I get up well before dawn and hike with a headlamp, and then watch the sun come up and then hike some more. And there are a group of early morning hikers that we exchange hellos and chat a little bit as we pass by, and it's just a very good way to start the day for me.
How about you, Bethany?
I'm a swimmer and a marathoner, but I had knee surgery last year, and I've been using the trail as a form of rehabilitation from the surgery. And I got tired of driving to the hospital for physical therapy 3 times a week, and I started hiking the trail instead. And it's been an amazing experience. I'm the same way. I like to hike it for the morning, for the sunrise, but I also go for the sunset as well. But I've discovered, at first it used to be just an individual thing, but I met people along the trail, and now it's more of a social network. And from seeing the repeat hikers each day, or to just meet the tourists from all across the world. And it's an opportunity for me to speak a foreign language.
Super. So here we have some of the users who typically go up the trail.
So I photographed this morning, and the gentleman was carrying another man down the trail. And it was just an amazing thing to experience. But I'm not sure if this was part of Wounded Warrior program or just an individual who is disabled. But this trail attracts people from all different ability levels, and it's just an amazing. This was another photo I took this morning, and it's just a very popular trail, especially on the weekends.
Now this is the
Right.
Yeah.
Super. So when you go up there, you meet all kinds of different people, and you could tell us a little bit about why you are so enthusiastic about trying to get this restored.
Once again, we all have our own personal feelings, what the trail actually means to us, but the way the Kokonut Coalition came to be is a group of local hikers, for the most part, kept on grumping to each other about how the trail is falling apart around us. And we've all noticed that within the past couple of years, the erosion and the decomposition of the trail seems to be accelerating. And we're saying, boy, if something isn't done here, then we're not going to have a trail to hike on too much longer. And so over many of these episodes of us griping to each other as we're passing by, finally a few of us decided to try to organize to see what we could do about this, to explore what the opportunities are to go ahead and get funding for repairing the trail.
So you've actually met with some legislators in the area and have tried to work with the city, and how's that going?
Would you like to speak?
Yeah, we have. We've had a couple of meetings so far. We had a meeting with Trevor Ozawa and the Department of Parks and Recreation, and Director Nakota and her staff. And it was a very cordial meeting, and I think we laid the foundation for an ongoing partnership, and that's the word that's actually being used at this point. I believe that the DPR is interested in doing a public-private partnership with a group such as ours. We hope it's going to be us, in order to come up with the plans and then execute these plans to refurbish the trail, to rehabilitate it over some period of time. We hope that we can stabilize the trail before then, so that we have a trail to work with in the future.
So we have some pictures too of the current condition of the trail, and how that's actually, because of the concerns about potentially people getting hurt on the trail, and why you guys are so involved in trying to restore that.
So these photos were taken a few months ago. Obviously, the weather is quite different. It just shows you the current situation with the trail and how much it's eroded, and the.
So this trail is going on 6 decades or so old, and the lifespan of these railroad ties here is really only 20 to 25 years on a normal basis. So what we're seeing is they're rotting, and the water infiltrates them and then promotes fungus that rots from the inside out. So you can see these ties get hollow. And when they get hollow over a period of time, the railroad spikes that fasten them to the rails fail. And then the ties either twist. One end of the tie goes downhill a little bit, which creates a funnel and a chute for water to accelerate when it's raining hard. And that accelerated water goes ahead and picks up the earth that supports these ties and undermines them over a period of time. And when it undermines the ties, then they just effectively fall off the rail. Now these ties, of course, make the steps as we go on up there. And as the ties fall off and go somewhere else, these steps get larger and larger and more dangerous.
So your goal then is to actually fix the ties and then rehabilitate the trail. Is that correct?
I think at this point our goal is to, well, first of all, we are seeing a tremendous amount of volume on this trail during busy days. Weekends and holidays, we will see upwards of 1,000 people on this trail. And the pictures that you're seeing right here are not indicative of the crowd that's on this trail at times. Sometimes there are 4 or 5 people wide trying to get around each other on this trail. So that affects the safety. The trail has become popular for obvious reasons, the internet and the fact that I think that visitors to Hawaii are more adventurous now than they may have been before. They're not willing to stay perhaps in Waikiki only. They want to go out and experience the real Hawaii, and this is one way to do it. And so we're ending up with this huge volume. We have literally millions of footfalls a day on this trail that affect it and that erode it. And so because of this, we recognize that just restoring the trail to how it has been, replacing the railroad ties and returning it into a condition that it was once in, is not going to be adequate at this point to take care of these crowds of people. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and over some period of time rehabilitate this trail using a trail that has been recently completed in a place called Manitou Springs in Colorado. It's called the Manitou Incline, and I suggest that all of you look it up online. It is a extremely aspirational trail. It was a former tramway much like this, but it is about 3 times as long as our tramway, and consequently it was 3 times as expensive to rehabilitate as this one will be. But what they did is they kept these steps, but they did not use railroad ties. Consequently, they allowed it to handle a lot more people, and we hope to do the same thing here.
So this is a work in progress. And as we know, there have been some concerns about people being rescued, and Bethany, I think you have kind of a lot of experience in that area. You want to share that with us?
Just one of my concerns is I think the average right now is 5 rescues, helicopter rescues per month on this trail. And one of the concerns is whether or not the individuals are being rescued because they're just, they have physical fitness challenges and they're embarking on a challenge that exceeds their ability. Or are they being rescued because they've been injured because of the state of the trail today? And so that's one thing. We realize if we rehabilitate the trail, we won't be able to eliminate the folks who attempt the hike who aren't physically capable of doing it, like the cardiac issues and medical concerns like that. But if we can help mitigate the injuries that may result because the trail is degrading, that's what we see our role here is what can we do to help prevent injuries because somebody might trip over a splintered tie or something like that.
Well, isn't there also the opportunity then to educate the public on using the trail and what they should take or even whether they should go, that kind of thing?
Yes, I think so. As avid hikers on the trail already, we're kind of self-policing individuals who are on the trail. And if it looks like somebody's having a problem, maybe they don't have enough water or they're overheating or you just realize physically they're not going to make it, we try to encourage them to just stop, take a break. We'll give them water. I bring electrolytes with me on the trail to help if people are having low blood sugar issues. But we can only self-police so much. Yes, we could put signs down at the base of the trail to encourage people to really consider if this is something they think they're physically capable of doing or not. But generally just informing them of what to expect, and especially the lack of water at the summit and those sorts of things. So
In fact, there is a sign.
yeah.
And the city has put a sign at the bottom of the hill. It's been there for decades. Basically, that states the very same thing. If you have any doubts, don't hike this trail. Make sure you have water, all these various things. It's a small sign, it's fairly high up, and I doubt if anybody reads it, but it is there.
I think they're so awed by the grandeur of the mountain itself. It's just such a pretty sight to see. So they're kind of just taking in the beauty of the area.
Yeah, it's definitely a beautiful place. So you have a Facebook page, and I would imagine as you formalize your group that you will probably have a website as well, and that'd be another opportunity to help educate people.
Yes, it is called the Kokonut Coalition, spelled with a K. So K for coconut, K for coalition. And the genesis of this, as some people often ask us, is, well, we were spawned from a larger Facebook group called the Cocoa Crater Trail Challenge, which has now been changed to the Coconut Challenge. And what this group was a group of hikers and exercise freaks and people that would go ahead and challenge themselves through this Facebook group to go ahead and hike the trail X number of times for any given period of time. For example, what was the last challenge, the last big challenge?
The last challenge was in May, and it lasted 14 days. And to earn the title ŌleloNet, you had to climb the trail 10 of those days out of the 14.
Wow.
And so if you were able to accomplish that, then you would earn the title ŌleloNet. And
we have a Coconut King.
Right.
Keone Kino, I think, still retains
Correct.
the title. And we have a Coconut Queen and Princess and so on. And of course, Coconut came because passerby or people who are watching us do this insane thing would say, those guys are nuts. So there you have it.
Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't known about that, the history of that terminology. So as a group, though, you are working toward being a little more formal in what you're doing and trying to get funding and working with the city and state as well, correct?
We are definitely doing that. This group was actually created, that is, the Kokonut Coalition was created in May of this year. So we're very young, we're very new. And so right now we are not a legal entity, though we do have a GoFundMe campaign, by the way. And that is, what's it called, Joe? It's Save the Stairs, I think it is. GoFundMe Save the Stairs.
Save Our Stairs.
Save Our Stairs. And what we're doing is we're trying to raise money in order to be able to incorporate, become a legal entity, and then to apply for the necessary permits and submit the necessary applications to become a 501c3 nonprofit organization, so that people who donate to us, it will be a tax-free charitable deduction for them. And also to give us the legitimacy that we require to go ahead and move forward as we work with the city and the state.
Right,
GoFundMe,
so-
Get the Stairs Fixed.
It's the Get the Stairs Fixed GoFundMe.
Okay, so that's actually the starting pool to help you get the incorporation
Yes.
done, apply for the exemption, because that's not free,
Right.
and then formalize and put yourself out there and possibly even apply for grants or that kind of thing as well.
Exactly right, yes.
What is fascinating with our group, the Kokonut Coalition, I think we're about 500 strong, and every day it seems to increase. We have a lot of people who've come forward and are willing to physically work on the trail. They want to
Yes.
maintain it. And because we're prevented from doing the work ourselves, it needs to be by a sanctioned entity that can verify that it will be safely done. We really want to be able to tap into this energy and excitement about fixing the stairs, but we want to work with the city in order to develop a trail maintenance program with volunteers and to extend it out to trail cleanup days and things like that. So we have a lot of interest in helping support and maintain the trail. It's just a matter of how do we get that established from the beginning.
Yeah, let me elaborate on that a little bit. This is, as far as the city is concerned, an unsanctioned trail. Now, some people think that means it's illegal, but it is not illegal. There are signs, as I said, at the bottom of the trail that warn you not to hike it if you're not capable of hiking it, bring water, things of that nature. So the city recognizes that people are using this trail. It is a legal trail. It's just not a sanctioned hike. The city currently has no trails program, and they have no funds, no budget to do any maintenance on it. So consequently, this trail has existed for decades, literally decades, with no maintenance whatsoever. And that's why it is in the state that it is currently in. So over this period of time, we have had individual hikers, people concerned with this, people that hike on a regular basis, volunteers that have fixed part of the trail in an ad hoc fashion. These are unsanctioned fixes. The city cannot sanction them, of course, because there's liability associated with that. But the trail is safer now because that these volunteers have done some of this work. Okay, we as a organized group, the Kokonut Coalition, would like to do more of this work, but since we have every intention of working with the city to fix the trail and rehabilitate it in the future, we cannot do it as an organization unless we have the authorization from the city. Now, the city has asked their Department of Construction, or Planning and Construction, the DPC, I believe it is, to go ahead and survey the trail, have a look at it, and have their engineers make recommendations as to what we can do. And we hope that once the city receives these recommendations, that they will then authorize us to do some of this work under their direction.
Right. So there is the process actually to become recognized as an exempt organization, charitable organization. Takes a little while, and there's an interim step that you're going to work on as well, working with a fiscal sponsor, I understand.
Yes, the Living Hawaii Kai Hui,
Livable Hawaii Kai Hui.
Livable Hawaii Kai Hui has, I believe they're going to offer us a fiscal sponsorship. And what this means is they will, as a 501c3 nonprofit themselves, they will actually lend us an umbrella to operate under for the period of time that it takes us to become one ourselves. And this is great because it'll lend us their legitimacy and allow us to go ahead and try to secure more funds from donors and to apply for grants.
I think what you guys have done is just really wonderful, because I've personally hiked up there with my sons, and that's just a really great resource for everybody in the community. Is there anything else that you wanted to share about the trail?
Right. Personally, I've always been an athlete, and so I've been interested in just different ways to exercise. But this experience with the trail has piqued a curiosity in me about the history of the region. And so I'm really getting to learn the history of how this trail came to exist, and also the culture in the area. So we have some photos here. I believe these are from 1950s, Hawaiian Airlines, and you can see the Cocoa Head and Cocoa Crater. And this is Kuapa, the fish pond in the Maunalua region. And then this is a map of the radar sites and the key military installations as of December 1941. You can see in the lower right corner, Cocoa Head radar site. And Cocoa Crater stems from that. The equipment that was established on the Cocoa Head radar site in 1941 era, the technology became outdated, and so they decided to upgrade the technology. And when they did that in 1942, they built this radar site. This is Cocoa Crater radar site, but it's Cocoa Crater Air Force Station radar site. And so this is what it looked like in 1940, I think 1949. This is the start of the trail. You can see the tram car there that was used to ferry soldiers, equipment, and supplies up to the summit. And this is the end of the first rail tramway that is established. So this is essentially where the trail ends today, and as far as the stairs go. And you can see, it's neat to see the soldiers and the airmen there. And then this is another view of the end line, but you can see Hanama Bay off in the distance, and then Maunalua as well. This is the summit. This is the Pu'umai summit, and that's a radar screen there at the summit. And today, the erosion has, back then it was horizontal, and today the erosion is such that that horizontal radar base has collapsed around Pinnacle. So this is just a radar screen again. And another view, I think this is probably the oldest view that we have of the rail, and I believe this is 1943 era. But we just have some different views of the trail, or the railway, over the years. So these are some of the structures that are physically up there. Now it's just the foundations of these structures. And then this is a picture of the airmen working within the operational facility at the radar site. So it's kind of neat to see the human part of the radar activity there. And this is probably I think this is July of '49 is when these were taken, the Quonset huts. That was the base the base life support area for the airmen who were working at the summit. And this, I believe, is when this is the mess hall, or the dining facility for the airmen there at the Cocoa Crater radar site. But I believe this is when the Job Corps physically took over the land in the 50s and 60s, and so they've added their own element of decoration to it.
Oh, those are really interesting. There's a lot of wonderful history there, and culture as well. So are you working with other groups too to help bring in the Hawaiian background on this, or?
We're hoping to. The more we dive into this, the more we want to reach out and connect with folks who have a passion for this as well.
Yeah, I'm just really impressed with the history that you've been able to dig up, and the stories behind all these, what's been happening on the trail. Yeah, so we have a few minutes left. Is there anything else that you'd like to share?
Well, let me see. I think Beth can speak more to this because she talks to more people on the trail than I do. I tend to just put my head down and go up and down it.
So I don't have my list with me, but I've hiked this trail 171 times since we moved here 2 years ago.
Wow.
151 of those hikes have been since Thanksgiving of last year. And I have met people from all over, but locals that hike it daily as a form of meditation and a form of workout for them. So they just they're in their zone when they're hiking up the trail. And then others who are out, it's their morning thing. They hang out with their friends, and instead of going to the coffee shop, they'll go hiking with their buddies. All the way up to folks from across the island. We've met folks from Kapolei and from Kailua and Kaneohe that drive here every morning to hike it.
Wow.
It is just amazing to see the interest in this particular trail from across Oahu, and then the number of tourists that hike it as well there. And it depends what time of the year it is. Right now it seems to be the German, Swiss, Austrian tourists And there's always interest from Japan, there's always interest from China and from Australia. But it's just interesting to see, what draws people to this particular trail and where they're coming from and how they learn about that the trail exists. But then there's also, I've seen just this week alone, I've seen numerous military organizations hiking the trail. There was an Army unit who hiked it the other day, and it was a morale building event. And they had it was to focus on suicide prevention awareness and for the month of October. And so they used this as a way to challenge their bodies and to have them thinking about this topic that is so important when the Army is losing 22 soldiers a day to suicide, and both active and veterans. And this is just one way that they can help spread the word to try to curb the awful loss to suicide. We also met sailors from a ship that was here in port. I hiked up the other day with a C-130 crew from the Marines out of Japan. They were here for a 24-hour layover, and that's what they chose to do with their 24 hours. And those Marines had never been to Hawaii before, and that's what they chose to do in their one day here. So it's just incredible to see what draws people to this particular trail, be it just the panoramic views of the region or the physical challenge, or I've seen family reunions up there, and I saw a betrothal about 6 weeks ago now, a Marine couple that became engaged on top of one of the structures up there. So it's just amazing to see why people are so attracted and interested in this trail.
By the way, the city has reached out to some various military commands here to see if they can assist us with the restoration or rehabilitation of the trail.
That's great.
And so far, there's been a lot of positive input on that point.
Yeah, I would think that the military would have a vested interest and want to keep the trail going,
Absolutely.
especially with these training programs that you're mentioning. Yeah, wide range of uses and motivation behind using the trail. Well, really super. We're winding down now. You do have the Facebook page, if you want to mention that one more time.
Go ahead.
Okay,
And you go from
that's
there.
our group is the Kokonut Coalition, and it's a Facebook group. But Kokonut with a K and Coalition with a K.
Yeah, so that's on Facebook, and then you have the GoFundMe campaign.
Right. Joe, what's the GoFundMe again?
GoFundMe.com, get the trail, get the stairs fixed.
Okay, GoFundMe.com, of course, and get the stairs fixed.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
get
you
the
very
stairs
much
fixed.
for joining us.
Thank you. It's been fun.